All right, we are live. Welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 2, Episode 17. I am just really excited for this episode and this upcoming week because, of course, it is E3 week. First off, some huge announcements. The first one being that tomorrow, actually, which will be... Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. The 9th of June 9th, which will be Sunday, is our 1 year anniversary of It's Not a Sport. So I plan for the future to do maybe like a 1 year anniversary video or something like that, or just like an update video, state of It's Not a Sport, something like that. But it's been a really fun journey. I've been doing this for a year, and I am really happy that I've stuck with it and continued to do it. We also have a shit ton of news this week because, of course, we're going to E3. Lots of really actually surprising things that came out of nowhere, and I definitely couldn't really predict any of this. So we're gonna get into that later, and it all ties into all together essentially. But like always, let's start with esports. So, a couple things with esports. LCS start back up. At the time of recording this, I believe the academy teams are playing. And then I think Overwatch League is also continuing. And there's some Fortnite stuff still going on, like Fortnite Fridays. And the World Cup, which there is some Fortnite drama to get into. But let's start with LCS. In first place, Cloud9 is 2-0. And second is Golden Guardian and Optic Gaming. Optic Gaming actually just fused with longtime League of Legends organization, which dropped when they franchised Dignitas. So they just merged together, which is interesting. So Optic and Dignitas are now two organizations together. So Golden Guardians and Optic are also tied for first. My bad. And then everyone else is in below them is TSM, Counter Logic Gaming, Team Liquid, and Echo Fox are all tied for fourth. And then FlyQuest and Clutch Gaming and 100 Trash are all tied for eighth, which is last. In Europe, Origins, Fnatic, G2, Misfits, and Skalak, gotta go back to pronouncing them again, 04 are all in first place. SK, XL, Rogue, Splice, and Team Vitality are all sixth place. In Korea, Gen G, Sandbox, SKT, KT Roster, Kingzone, and Griffin are all in first place. And then Hangzhou Life, Dame One Gaming, Jin Air, and Afrika Freaks are all in seventh place. The leagues just started up again for Summer Split, so there's no real standings. It's just you either have 2 wins or you don't, And China, which is LPL, Royals Never Give Up, LNG Esports, Fun Plus are all tied for first. Edward Gaming, Oh My God, and Sunning is tied for fourth. LGD, Invictus, Billy B Gaming are tied for seventh. Top Esports and Rogue Warriors, which haven't played, they're 0-0, are in 10th. Vinci is tied for 12th. Dominus, Victory 5, Team WE, and JD are all in 13th place. In the Overwatch League, they've moved on to stage 3, so yeah, Overwatch League booted back up again. I was assuming they were off and it was dull. Seoul Dynasty is in first, and again, they barely played. Seoul Dynasty is also just 1 win, 0 losses, so they've barely played. Seoul Dynasty is first, followed by Shanghai, then Guangzhou, then San Francisco, Vancouver, New York, London, Los Angeles, Dallas, Philadelphia, Hangzhou Spark, Toronto, Boston, Paris, Houston, Washington, Atlanta, Chengdu Hunters, Los Angeles Valiants, and Florida is in last place. Keep in note that a lot of these teams haven't even played yet. They're actually playing. Paris and Toronto are actually playing right now at the time of recording this. In terms of game releases, we're in June now, and June 4th, actually, the Elder Scrolls dropped last Tuesday. Dropped their expansion, the Elder Scrolls Online Elsewhere. I haven't heard much about it, probably because I don't follow the Elder Scrolls, but just in general, I haven't heard much about it. It's mostly been preparation for E3, and the big one is Final Fantasy's expansion at the end of this month and early July. But we also had Persona Q2 for 3DS, Trove Slaves, The Universe, Warhammer, Crossbane, and that was still this week. And then next week we'll have Bloodstained Ritual of Night, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel, which is like Crash Bandicoot, but it's a racing game, Judgment, The Sinking City, and then later on in a couple weeks, Super Mario Maker 2 drops. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into the news. First one, and I don't know if this is really true. It may be a troll, but it could also not be. The Dragon Ball Z author was knighted in France. I'm just gonna leave it at that. If it's true, that's cool, but if it's not, then okay. It's just like, it was an article that I saw and looked legit, but I am not 100% sure on that. A thing that I am 100% sure is the Russo brothers, who are the directors of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, are set to direct a Magic the Gathering animated series on Netflix. This is really kind of somewhat surprising. It's really actually really fucking weird. But it's also not unexpected, because Wizards of the Coast has really been franchising Magic a lot more recently within this year. They created a new Magic League, which has been having its problems. They been doing a lot more promo art within the game with the Japanese exclusive cards, which one of Final Fantasy artists did the Liliana. They did the whole trailer for War of the Spark when it released earlier this year. They've really doubled down on Magic the Gathering Arena as a platform to push Magic and giving out a lot of free codes and stuff like that. So they've been really franchising Magic, and it's not unsurprised. I'm not like, it's expected for them to kind of maybe push into somewhat of an animated series. Yeah, it's interesting. Another Magic thing is that they've also decided to add the London Mulligan rule to all competitive formats when Core Set 2020 drops later this year. I believe it drops sometime in July, maybe-ish. It has to be July, because then rotation happens. So it should be relatively soon. If you don't know what the London Mulligan rule is, essentially it is how the Mulligan rule works now is that you draw 7 cards, right? And then if it doesn't work, you scrap it. You draw another 7, or you draw 6 instead of 7. And then you get to, and then you do it again. It keeps going, so it goes from 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to whatever number you feel comfortable at, or whatever hand you feel comfortable at. And so if you mulligan down to 6, then that 7th card you get to look at. You get to look at the next drawn card and decide whether to keep it at the top of your library or put it at the bottom. And that's how the current mulligan rule works. How this one works, however, is that you start your hand with 7 cards, and then if you don't like it, you scrap it and you draw 7, right? However, once you confirm that you like this hand, you put 1 at I believe, the bottom of your deck. So you take one of those cards and put it at the bottom of the deck. So every time you mulligan, you take that many cards and you put it at the bottom of your deck. So if I mulligan to 5, then I take 2 cards out of my 7 hand and put them at the bottom of the deck. So I start with 5 cards. Essentially, it's less RNG and it sets up better combos, especially for Modern. So I'm actually really excited to see this because I hope they implement it in Magic Gathering Arena, because you get terrible fucking hands all the time and it's really hard to get anything going, and that's why like aggro decks are generally really popular, because the hands that you get are generally solid. Alright, moving on. Square Enix has done it again. They have essentially they've added every Final Fantasy soundtrack from, I believe, 3 to 15 all on Spotify and Apple Music. So Final Fantasy music is some of the best music in video games. I listen to and Square Enix just makes really good fucking music, and their composers are fantastic. Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack, the Heaven Ward soundtrack from Final Fantasy 14. 10 is also good. I believe 12 is also good, and some songs from 13 are just really good fucking songs. And I'm really happy that they decided to put all the Final Fantasies soundtracks up on Spotify for us to listen to without doing pirate or illegal or legit, like just YouTube scammy shit. So I highly recommend you go listen to those. If you need songs to listen to or just like tracks to listen to, I will be happy to recommend it. Just let me know down in the comments or PM me on the social media, and I will be glad to educate you on glorious Final Fantasy OSTs. The only thing I can hope next is that they add the Kingdom Hearts OSTs on there, because those are also really fucking good, especially 3. And that they add Shadowbringers on there when Shadowbringers drops in early July. So, next, Watch Dogs 3 has been leaked. So, with Watch Dogs 3 being leaked, we expect to see some sort of announcement about it, probably at E3, like a trailer or something, maybe. It apparently has some feature where you can play as any NPC, so you just kind of jump between NPCs, which has had developers have problems developing that, because that is difficult to code, I would imagine, and a pain in the ass. Halo Infinite demo will be on PC with the controller at E3, and Microsoft is supposed to talk about 2 new IPs. We'll talk about this later. Bless Online servers are shutting down. At least I know they are in Japan. Bless Online is an MMO that I know absolutely nothing about, and I think I've heard good things about it. So it's shutting down. It's gone. If you played it, too bad. If you haven't, whatever. League of Legends has a new champion. She's like an assassin sort of champion, I think, that's supposed to be playing the mid lane. Apparently she's coming out super fast because it'll be behind Yumi, because Yumi just came out maybe a month or 2 ago, because they got delayed since like the Kale rework. Other league dramas that people have been complaining about healing in that game. I think, I've talked to my friends and what they think. They think that this is one of the worst League of Legends seasons ever. I do too. Season 8 was pretty bad. Season 9, I'm just Season 8 was bad. I still want to play it. Season 9, I don't want to play it all. I think the game's kind of getting progressively worse, and people are really pointing out about issues like the healing issue now, where Volibear and Vladimir are just dominating because they just removed grievous wounds from a lot of kits and items. So that's probably their next thing to tackle. The other one would be Fortnite drama. Not really legal drama or anything, more like esports drama again. The school not in my notes, surprisingly. University of California, Los Angeles deemed Fortnite unofficial for esports because of how many changes the game gets constantly and the updates and the poor balance issues. And that's really been shown with the new item, like Storm Surge or whatever it's fucking called, where there's a clip of this dude, just like 5 of them, and like an end game circle. And end game circles, of course, are really small. And he just throws it, and it just like completely, almost kills him and fucks up the entire game. So there's been a real big controversy around this item being, freaking busted. And just goes to show that, Epic's intent isn't to make an esport, it's just to make a fun game for the kids and make a lot of money off of it. So now we get into the really big announcements. There's a couple. So first thing first, there's 3 big announcements. First one, I would say Google Stadia. Second one being Destiny 2, and third one being Pokemon news. This all ties in and segues into E3. So let's get out of Google Stadia. If you don't know what Google Stadia is Google's new streaming platform that they are pushing into the gaming market. It has Sony and Microsoft scrambling, wanting also to get streaming, but the idea is it's basically on live. The idea is that you pay a subscription and then you can stream games in 1080p at 60 FPS to your phone, to any Google Chrome browser, to your Chromecast, any basically Google contact using the internet. So you play your games using the internet and you don't download actual files. The problem with this is that there's a lot of latency issues and there's a lot of lag. I've talked about it before on one of our previous episodes, so if you want to listen to that, go listen to that. But this is all about the announcements and the specs. So first off, it will arrive this November. There's no official release date, but it is coming out in November of 2019. It, of course, will have supposedly be in 60 FPS, 4K resolution, support HDR, and 5.1 surround sound. If you have 5 to 10 megabytes per second with your internet, which is recommended, you can stream it in 720p, which is like basic HD. And then if you have 20 megabytes per second, you can stream in 1080p, which is standard now. And then if you have 35, you can stream in 4K. Most households have between maybe like 20 and 100 megabytes per second, or megapixels per second. So it should be good. I should test my connection and see how it is. There's a couple games that will be coming. We'll get to that in a second. In name it all. You can pre-order it right now for $130, and the Founders Edition essentially for $130. You get their controller, which you don't need because they've said that it will work with any controller with a USB port. But you get the Google Stadia controller, and you get a Google Chromecast Ultra as well. To play, these are the basic standard options. It is $10 per month. You'll get resolution up to 4K, 60 frames, 5.1 surround sound, buy games whenever you want, which is weird, I don't know, yes. So you would have to pay a subscription and also buy the games that you want. Additional free games released regularly, but they're not free because you're paying for them. So you get Destiny 2 the collection, which there's Destiny 2 news, which we'll cover right after that, or right after this. You get a Stadia Pro exclusive discount on select games purchase. So it's basically PlayStation Plus somewhat. Not really. Stadia Base coming next year, so you don't get, wait, that's interesting. So they're pushing you, they're making you pay for the subscription, and you can't play certain games for free. That's kind of fucked up. You get resolution up to 1080p. You get frames to 60 FPS. You get stereo. You get to buy games whenever you want. Additional free games released regularly. You don't get that, and you don't get the discount. That sums it up, really. Now, the second question, right, before we go over the list of games, really, that people were asking was, who is this for, right? For people who are hardcore gamers, they're always going to pick PCs over this, because you get, if you choose a PC, you get better frame rate, less lag, because there will be input lag, right? You get like, it's like between 50 to like 10 or 120 ms, which is pretty fucking bad, actually. Like 120 ms is basically, you know, people with bad internet, like bad internet's average. So, you know, obviously they've done their research, and it's Google, and they want to be investing this much that they didn't know like what they wanted from it. But most people, at least in my generation, like me and older people who want to go really hardcore, won't buy this. I was talking to my father about this, and we were discussing it, and basically I think we were thinking that the idea behind this it's not made for us, it's not made for the current gaming market, it's made for the future, and it's made for the kids. And my cousin came in this weekend, and I was looking at him, and he was playing, and I've thought back, like, what does he play? You know, what does their generation play? The Fortnite loving generation play, not the Minecraft generation like us, the Fortnite generation. They like to play games on mobile. He always plays on his phone. He always plays on his Switch. He's always playing mobile games. He's not playing games like me on my computer or like anything like that. But maybe he just hasn't gotten there yet. Maybe that's how you grow up. But the younger generation, and not even the older generation like Candy Crush, are playing mobile games. So with this addition of streaming games to like your phone and your computer, right, being more mobile than a PC and a console, that's probably who the audience is for their generation, and for people who play a lot of mobile games, who want to play big games like Borderlands 3, for instance. So it's interesting. It's really going to shake up the market when it drops. I think we won't really see huge effects on it until maybe 2020 or 2021. But it's definitely interesting to see what will happen, especially with Apple also trying to get into the gaming market with like Apple Arcade. So let's go down the list of games confirmed for Stadia. Also another thing to keep in mind, that like because of the lag, a lot of multiplayer competitive games like Mortal Kombat 11 will probably not really, like, you won't really want to opt to play Mortal Kombat 11 on Stadia because of lag. You'll probably want to play it on PC or on console because there's less lag and every frame matters. So we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Doom Eternal, Doom, Rage 2, The Elder Scrolls Online, Wolfenstein Young Blood, Destiny 2, Get Packed, Grid, Metro Exodus, Thumper, Farming Simulator 19, Baldur's Gate 3, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, Football Manager, Samurai Shodown, Final Fantasy 15, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, NBA 2K, Borderlands 3, Glight, Mortal Kombat 11, Darkside Genesis, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Just Dance, Ghost Recon Breaking Point, The Division, Trials Rising, and The Crew 2. So also, the only, like, if you look at the patterns, right? Square Enix seems to be on board with this, with Final Fantasy and the Tomb Raiders. And Ubisoft seems to be on board with this, with The Division 2, Ghost Recon, Just Dance, Assassin's Creed, and the Crew. And then some other small time games. Bethesda is also on board with this, with Doom Eternal, Doom, and The Elder Scrolls, and Wolfenstein. Destiny, which we'll get on to next because they're kind of dying. Epic Games, maybe, because there's a couple Epic Games exclusives that are up on here. But those are the people who are probably down for this. And we're probably gonna see their games showing up at, like, you know, it's gonna be like after the end of the trailer when they get their presentation. It's gonna be like, it will be on Xbox One, PS4, the Switch, and Stadia. You know, so we'll probably see that this at E3 this year. That covers Stadia news. Let's get into the Destiny news. So first thing for me, Destiny's kind of somewhat of a dead game for me. I think that, like, a lot of people really enjoyed, like, at least a lot of people that I talked to and friendship wise really enjoyed Forsaken, but they didn't want to spend the extra $40 for that pass, which I haven't really heard if it's worth it. And they don't want to, and then, like, the grind for the late game, like really late game, became really tedious. So I remember Destiny always being somewhat, like, really high on Twitch standings, but now it's really fallen off, and a lot of people, you know, are probably not playing it as much as they used to, which is why we see Bungie make these moves. So first things first, the expansion. They announced a new expansion called Shadow's Keep. We're going back to the moon. It kind of looks like the Crota DLC from Destiny 1 again. They're bringing back Eris Morn, which is a character that kind of disappeared when Destiny 2 happened. September 17th is the release date. There will be 3 versions: Standard, Digital Deluxe, and the Collector's Edition, as always. We return to the moon. Right? The D1 Cosmodrome is shown. Okay, so that's the new light. Old Nightmares return. You have Crota, Skolas, and Growl. Radical, blah 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 blah. New exotics. Intellect, Discipline, and Strength from Destiny 1 are returning. Artifacts, which boost power and abilities, was in Destiny 1, are being added. New raid, old PvP modes are returning. Finisher special ability classes to add it to some final blows. You do not need Forsaken to play Shadow Keep. New dungeons, new season model, no more platform exclusives. D2 Year 1 raids and in-game content will now include matchmaking. That's really interesting. And PC players are moving to Steam. We'll get to this for a second. So I think the big ones, right? First off, they're desperate, right? This game's dying. No one's really playing Destiny, and especially with Borderlands 3 around the corner, a lot of people play Destiny because they like Borderlands. With Borderlands 3 coming out, I feel like a lot of people are going to go to Borderlands, and Destiny's going to die. So what are they doing? They are making the base game, Year 1, all Year 1 content, free to play. They seem to be really doubling down on Destiny 1 mechanics because they want to bring back nostalgia, because a lot of Destiny 2 players and hardcore Destiny 2 players are hardcore Destiny 1 players, and a lot of Destiny 1 players don't really like Destiny 2. I don't really like Destiny 2 as much as I like Destiny 1's like ending kind of cycle. So that's, you know, what's happening. So that's why they're really bringing back old stuff into this new game. They're really trying to double down. Yeah, it just seems like a desperate cry, because now there's only doing expansions. The base game for year one content will be free to play, and it's moving over to Steam. But that's only because Bungie split from Blizzard, who are also having a hard time, because I think I mentioned this before, or I forgot. Blizzard, they essentially announced that they're canceling StarCraft FPS to work on Diablo 4, which they need to after the fiasco last year with the Diablo, and Overwatch 2, because Overwatch is a dead fucking game and they don't know how to fix it, so it makes no sense to me, and that's a Kotaku article. Back to Destiny, right? Light in the New Dark, New Light. Destiny 2's New Light is free to all players on every supported platform. It launches September 17th, 2019. Again, New Light is a new way to play Destiny for new players. No more... with New Light, Destiny 2 includes Curse of Osiris, Warmind. From year one becomes free, and with that, you'll still be able to play, including endgame content, Crucible, and Gambit. Okay. So, yeah, basically year one content's going free. Cross saves, so you know how cross saves. I believe this is definitely needed, and its own spot is short to mention. Guardians across all platforms. No need to grind out the same gear or do the same thing. So cross saves mean that, like, if I'm on Xbox, right, this only counts for if I'm on PC and I log into Xbox, then I have the same character there. There's no more I don't only play with Xbox people, but I have the same characters across all platforms. All platforms include Xbox One, PC, Google Stadia, of course, and PlayStation. Okay. So cover that, and that's essentially it. So new expansion, year one's going free, and they're adding some quality of life changes. Like I said, they're desperate, because no one's really playing that fucking game, and of course with Borderlands coming out, it's going to be really difficult for Destiny. But I also think people don't trust these types of games anymore with the addition of fucking Anthem. So we'll see how it goes. I may check it out, I may not. Yeah. Now, the exciting news for me, actually, Pokemon, right? Got some news from their Direct. Just really fucking excited for Pokemon. First off, Sword and Shield will release globally on November 15th of 2019. It's coming out the 15th of November of this year, right in time for the holidays, of course. A new mechanic called Dynamaxing is shown. This is it, essentially. It was shown in the trailer if you haven't seen it. It just makes your Pokemon really fucking big, like a kaiju, and probably boosts their stats. I think it's lazy, actually. I don't think it's that cool. I would rather see Mega Evolutions come back and that build upon, because I really like Mega Evolutions, and Mega Evolutions like make some really cool design Pokemon. It will have a wild area, right? And this wild area has raid battles that you like get together with your friends, and you like attack these new Digimaxed Pokemon as a raid battle. So I mean, I guess that's cool. I think it's a way with the Switch, with Pokemon being on the Switch now, it's a way to bring people together more. So I'm definitely in favor of these kind of raid battles in this wild area. I'm interested to see what they do with it. Several new Pokemons, including the legendaries, are revealed. So if you get Sword, then you get this Pokemon. His name is Zycan. He's the wolf from Dark Souls. So this is the Sword Pokemon for Pokemon Sword. and Zamazenta. This is the Pokemon for Pokemon Shield. These are the two legendaries. I'm probably gonna get Sword, to be honest, and then I'll probably have a friend pick up Shield, and then we'll probably beat it, and then we'll trade. That's what's most likely to happen. Here they are together on the Pokemon website. They're really similar design, actually. And does it tell us what type they are? Act so graceful that movement. It doesn't tell us what type. So maybe we'll get stat-wise and stuff later on this year, but it doesn't tell us what type. Some other Pokemons, Corval Knight, a Crow Raven Pokemon. Here it is on the stream. It flies around cities. That's a new Pokemon from, I believe we're in Gen 8 now, or Gen 9. We have Grass Feud and Eldergross, grass Pokemon based on flowers. They're showing up on the stream as well. I highly recommend you go watch the stream. These two Pokemon are probably like Sword and Shield, because Sword and Shield had a couple Pokemon that are only exclusive to those versions, so they're probably only exclusive to once, or not Sword and Shield, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. We have Wool, a sheep Pokemon. Ooh, so cute. And Dreadnought, a turtle Pokemon. And then there's a full list of Pokemon that I guess we can go over. So new Pokemon that were revealed: Gronke, Scorbunny, Squabble. I believe those are the three starters. Wool, Grossfeud, Evergross, Dreadnought, Corval Knight, Zycan, and Zamazana. Those are legendary, so all the Pokemons we just went over are new. Returning, basically a shit version. Confirmed through evolution. There's a whole chart. I'm actually not going to cover it. Maybe next week I'll cover it, but there's actually a lot of returning and new Pokemon. The champion was showcased. His name is Leon, of classic Pokemon, design. I mean, like, it's also weird because some of these design choices I feel like are also, that's right, it is Gen 8. Some of these design choices are definitely from, are there to boost the anime. Apparently the champion's, his younger brother, his name is Hop. He is your rival in the game, so that's interesting. Glarus, the Garlar Regent, and Professor Magnolia. So the professor was shown off. Old lady, and her assistant Sionia. Classic Pokemon design. Like, I really think they do design some of these characters and like some of these things with the anime in mind. Milo is a gym leader. He was also seen during the direct. Similar to the Rotom Dex in Gen 7, which was fucking awful. You get a Rotom phone to assist you in Gen 8, which really fucking sucks because that again, the Rotom Dex and the Rotom phone were definitely there just to push the anime. So I hate it. I hate when Japan does this like kind of like really cute companion fucking thing that talks and is really obnoxious. I personally hate it. But in the game, he actually wasn't that obnoxious. But in the anime, he's definitely really obnoxious. That's it. There's more details, of course, on the website. So if you want all the details, you can, of course, go check out the website. Just remember that it's coming November 15th. So let's get into the big final news of this week's podcast. Is E3 and predictions, right? So first off, we're going to start with EA. EA is kicking off their stream 9:15 PST on Saturday, June 8th. I believe that will be tomorrow. They have their own kind of like Hollywood stadium that you have to go to and get a pass for. But things that are expected to see: Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Apex Legend, Battlefield 5, FIFA 20, NFL 20, and Sims 4. And of course, like with any E3 presentation, a shit ton of cringe. So, let's talk about some of these games. I expect them to really double down on Star Wars. Is probably going to be the biggest thing. FIFA and NFL are just like, they're basic sports games. They'll probably have maybe some like special mobile games or something like that. Generally, E3 press conferences are the worst. They're really predictable, and we only really watch them for the cringe compilations. But really, right now, what's going to happen with EA is this Star Wars trailer, and what comes out of it is really going to make or break them. Also with Apex Legends. I want Apex Legends to succeed just so it can overcome Fortnite and be a competitor to Fortnite again, making Fortnite a better game and less of the shitstorm that it already is. Secondly, I want Jedi Fallen Order to be good because I want a Star Wars game. So hopefully, really the Star Wars game's what's going to make or break it. If it's not good, then fuck it. If it's good, then yes. Maybe we'll get some Battlefield news, but I'm not too sure about that either. So, with Sony gone, Square Enix now has the stage. I love Square. I'm really fucking loving them. They've been just killing it. So what this article that I'm looking at, probably what we're gonna see, and I would also agree with, probably some Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC or news somewhat. Maybe they're out DLC, maybe they're not, maybe they'll let it go. I'm not really betting anything on Kingdom Hearts 3, but I would suspect them to do something with it. I am betting on the Final Fantasy VII remake. I definitely think, because they did say more news coming in June when they did the trailer for that at State of Play for Sony. So I definitely think we'll see some more news for that, hopefully a release date. But that's probably going to be their big one, as well as Shadowbringer for the Final Fantasy expansion. They're definitely going to show that off since that's right around the corner for them, and it's definitely a big release. And it's probably really fucking hyped, especially with WoW dying out, and a lot of Guild Wars, just a lot of bad MMOs really, and it's a stalemate. So a lot of people are hyped for that, and I think that's going to be a big one for them. I think also this rumored tweet of the Marvel Avengers game, I don't think they'll say anything about that. They may, but I wouldn't bet on it to be a solid. They'll definitely maybe say something about it, but I wouldn't bet on it. And then there's the small stuff. Dragon Age Quest Builders for the Switch, or another Dragon Quest game. Those are probably going to make some announcements. Those are small stuff. Some mobile games. Square Enix has some pretty big mobile games in Japan that make them a lot of money. So probably something like that. Just Cause 4 or Life is Strange 2 next episode. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that on there. And that kind of covers Square Enix for now. In terms of also Final Fantasy news, because this article mentions, but it's too early to hear something about Final Fantasy 16. Yes, it is. I agree with that. We're probably not going to get anything about Final Fantasy 16, especially since they're working on Shadowbringers and the 7 remake. In fact, I would bet that we'll probably get the remake sometime this year or early next year, and then maybe Final Fantasy 16 after that. Or they've been remaking a lot of Final Fantasies too, so we will see. Microsoft, This has to be a big year for Microsoft because Sony's not there, so their main competitor isn't attending, and they've been, fucking struggling for the last couple of years since this new generation was ushered in. They've been on the low end. First things first, because of Google Stadia, I guarantee you they're going to push this Xbox Battle Pass a lot. They're going to make you want to buy it on... they've been trying to get it to the Switch, and they've been trying to get it on PC. So this Xbox Battle Pass is definitely going to be a thing that they're going to push, as well as putting their games on Steam. I expect to see Gears of War 5 trailer, and hopefully, probably not because it's Epic. Fuck. That's probably going to be on the Epic Game Store, but I would like to see it on Steam as well as Epic. But it's probably going to be on the Epic Game Store, but we'll definitely get... Gears of War news. Other than that, for a Forza title, or they love their car racing games. Halo Infinite definitely going to be there, as well as I think the Master Chief Collection. I mentioned this before that there's going to be showing that off. There's rumor that they're going to announce 2 more IPs. But what Xbox likes to do is they really like to show off the big ones, and they show off a bunch of small indie games. We'll probably get Ori and the Blind Forest 2 news and just things like that. Sea of Thieves, etc. New additions. We all know the saying: Xbox exclusive, world premiere. So we'll see it. Moving on, Bethesda. Bethesda's in a very tough spot right now. My bad. Before I go on, Sunday, June 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific time zone, 4 p.m. Eastern time zone, and 9 p.m. BST is when Microsoft will have their press conference. So now moving on to Bethesda. They're in a really tough spot. Sunday, June 9th, also at 5:30 p.m. PT Pacific time zone, was when Bethesda will have their press conference. So first things first. They're gonna go over the Elder Scrolls Online because they just released the new expansion for that. So that's gonna be a big one for them, saying, "Hey, we just released the Elder Scrolls Online expansion. Go play it. Go play it. Go play it." They're definitely gonna show that off. Second will be Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal, I believe they announced last year. And it's of course on Stadia, so they're gonna be like, you can play Doom Eternal on Stadia in this November, so they're definitely gonna show that off. Last but not least, and this is the problematic one, Fallout 76. Fallout 76 was the big thing about their press conference last year, and it was a complete flop. We all know how it ended. It is actually probably one of the worst developed games in video game history, at least in modern times. And they completely abandoned it. So a dude on YouTube did a really good video about the history of the game and how it just kind of failed, and everything they did is just a disgusting pile of crap. The last thing I heard about it is that the game got so bad that players were running their own in-game stores. That's bad. It's bad. And that was the big thing last year, and it flopped. So, what are they going to do with it? How are they going to recover from that bad press? Because it's a big one. So, that's where I'm interested to see what they do. If they even bring it up or just completely avoid it at all. The best thing to do would probably bring it up and maybe try to get, the public on your side again. Or just completely avoid it, because it's gonna be hard. The Elder Scrolls Blades, which is due later out this year, and the Elder Scrolls Legends is a free-to-play card game. I believe they talked about this last year at E3, but maybe we'll probably see some talks about that. Starfield, which was a project that they announced. That was their new IP that they announced last year, I believe. Again, it's really going to be hard for anyone to buy into your product, especially a new product like that, after Fallout 76. So they'll probably talk about that. And last but not least, The Elder Scrolls 6. Maybe that will be their saving grace. Maybe that will be like, okay, we're giving you The Elder Scrolls 6 because of Fallout, really sucked. So that's the only world that I can imagine that being their saving grace, or Starfield looks really fucking good. But those two are probably guaranteed. Again, Sony, moving on. Sony's not going to be there. Sony decided to opt out. They have 3 big games that are mentioned here: The Last of Us, Part 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima were their big announcements like last year. And Death Stranding comes out later on this year. So, but Sony's not going to be there, and of course, the anticipation of the PlayStation 5. So, we don't really know what's going to happen with Sony. They had a state of play back in March, but they didn't really give us anything. My bet is that they're waiting for this to blow over to see what their competitors have lined up or not, and then they'll do a big state of play either later on. Well, it can't be later on. Either later on this month or sometime in July. Ubisoft, right? The second cringiest part of E3. We watch EA for the cringe, and then we watch Ubisoft for the cringe. Of course, let's keep this in mind. Ubisoft is doubling down with Stadia. So we'll probably see a lot of Stadia combined projects. You can now play fucking Assassin's Creed on Stadia. So keep that in mind. So, their keynote is on June 10th, 2019 at 1 p.m. Pacific time zone. This mentions that they will see Skull and Bones, which I believe was like their pirate game that they showed off last year. That we'll see that this year. I believe that. We'll definitely probably get a release date or something for Beyond Good and Evil 2. We'll definitely see, probably most likely, the pardon me, the Watch Dogs release, Watch Dogs 3 news release date. Maybe in the new Assassin's Creed, definitely a Just Dance or some shit like that, like they normally do. But this year is kind of a stalemate, so it's unpredictable what we're gonna see. This is like everything's come out, and this is when they kind of announce things that will come out in like the next 2 years, especially when we're in the gap of maybe we're about to move into the next generation. The PC Gaming Show is Monday, June 10th, 2019. I'm not going to predict this. I'm actually going to skip it because generally this show, they release like a lot of small indie games and kind of like meteor cult classic games like XCOM and stuff like that. They generally talk about here. So I'm just going to skip it. And moving on to Nintendo. Nintendo will have a couple big showcases. But here's what I'm going to say. Last year when I attended E3, their biggest showcase was Super Smash Bros. And then Pikachu Let's Go Pokemon or Pokemon Pikachu Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Their big one is probably gonna be Pokemon Sword and Shield. Guarantee it. And then Mario Maker 2 comes out later this year, so they're definitely gonna show that off. Link's Awakening remake, they showed that off earlier this year. Maybe we'll see some of that. Animal Crossing on the Switch, we'll definitely see some of that. Luigi's Mansion 3, I know that's playable, so that's definitely going to be that. Next Super Smash Bros. DLC character, guaranteed. We're going to see some of that. So Nintendo has a lot more lined up this year, and I'm interested to see what they're going to show. But their big ones are, of course, going to be probably Pokemon, Super Mario Maker, and Luigi's Mansion. And of course, maybe we'll get Metroid game. Maybe we'll get news about that. But that comes out, because that got delayed or canceled. So maybe we'll see Metroid. Maybe. That's a slight, really hard maybe. Their press conference is June 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. of course, all right. So here they have developer digital will be at E3. There's no real news, but they have a keynote confirmed, but to be decided. And of course, Google. Google did their thing. We covered it. So we'll see how Google really impacts other people now that they've announced what their plans are for Google Stadia. And then lastly, maybe some news out of Sony, maybe. But yeah, that's it. I know it was a shit ton of news. That essentially covers this week's episode of It's Not a Sport. We're going on 55 minutes because there's so much news to cover, and next week there's just going to be even more news to cover. So I'm really excited to see what's coming, because I've been personally in a stalemate where I can't play League, I can't play Fortnite. A lot of these competitive games just aren't appealing to me. And a lot of American-made video games have been really shitty, and the only games I've been really enjoying are Japanese games, which they've been killing it over the last couple years with like the Final Fantasies, earlier this year with Resident Evil 2 remake and DMC. So it's really, I don't know, maybe America will finally step up and like not be like, okay, we don't want to milk you for money, but we actually want to make good games. But we'll see. It's always a fun competitive time. Let's wrap up. If you want to listen to all of our past shows, they're up on YouTube. You can always listen to us also on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcast. Follow us on social media. It's Not a Sport to You. It's our Instagram account. If you want to catch the stream, I do it every Friday at 7 p.m. or later. And on twitch.tv/salty waffles with a U. Link should be down in the description. Come on around and ask us any questions. Thank you for listening or watching, and I hope you are having just as much fun as I am with E3. Take care.